Hello, everyone, and welcome to the second episode of our video series, speaking with technology leaders working in analyst relations or working with analyst relations professionals. Today, we have Jon Erik Settors, Director of Innovation for Financial Crime Prevention at Tietoevry. Jon Erik has spent 25 years in digital identity space. He's also an educator, having spent 13 years as an assistant professor at Buskerud University College in Norway. Jon Erik, thank you for talking to Women in Analyst Relations, and welcome to our video series.
Well, thanks for inviting me. Great to be here and good to see you again, Elena.
Let me start by asking you, how did you start your career in technology and digital identity more specifically?
Yeah, so my career started back in 1984. I started in a big Norwegian computer company called Norsk Data, and I was doing email software at the time. So then I moved from email to security, and then back in late 90s, about 25 years ago, I started with digital identity. For a project for Sweden Post. They needed to move identities into a central X500 database. And since then, I've moved through several companies doing digital identity. I've been in Maxwell, I've been in SAP, I've been in Signicat, and now in Tietoevry.
And so just to give some background to our listeners and viewers, we've worked together on analyst relations when you were at Signicat. When was actually the first time that you came across analyst relations?
It's probably now close to 10 years ago. I mean, I got the role in, I've been the spokesperson. I've been doing a lot of presentations and so on. So I was sort of the natural person to choose to do the analyst relations, to talk to analysts. So, probably almost 10 years ago, I think, where I started my first analyst relation briefings, for me, the first one was just like doing a presentation, right? Like I was doing, but, different audience.
And what were your first impressions of the practice of analyst relations, and also how it helped you use it in your day-to-day work?
So I think, as I said initially, for me, this was just another presentation. I was doing a lot of them, both physical and online presentations. So this was just another type of presentation. But then I realized, hey, we're getting into some interesting dialogues there. I felt in a lot of these interactions I had with analysts, we came into interesting discussions where I realized these were very two ways. I mean, I was sharing my knowledge from the industry and what I was working with, but I was also getting good feedback from the analysts, both the questions they were asking, and also their comments and so on. And of course, they had a broader view. I mean, I was an expert view on my specific area. The analysts have a broader view across the space. So I found this really interesting. I really appreciated the discussions I came into with the analysts.
And so when you started working with analysts, what were the challenges that you faced when working with them, and also with analyst relations in general?
So I think, I didn't really see a lot of challenges for me. Like I said initially, this was doing another presentation, but I realized I needed to adjust my messaging to the analysts. I had really good sort of team in the background helping me. And as you know, we worked together on this, and you were part of that team, and, really prepping me on, giving me the background for the analyst, giving me the information about them, reports, what we should cover when I've talked to them before. So that made my job really easy, because before every briefing I did with the analysts, I got this really good material that helped me a lot. So from my perspective, I mean, this was just smooth running. It was, it's really exciting talking to these experts, and then getting all this background info made my job really easy. So that was really important to me. I think without that, I would have a lot of struggles. But with that background help from yourself and also colleagues that were working in the background, not having that visibility was really essential to me.
So would you say that the team behind you, if we say so, you're the face of the company, the team behind you, it's really working in conjunction, and also tell me a bit more about that experience, about the things that you think are very important. I do have a lot of colleagues, especially younger colleagues, asking how do we prepare for an analyst call. Tell me about your experience. How do you prepare?
So, I mean, like I said, I mean, the prep was, well, first, of course, I need to think about my story. I'm always thinking about the storytelling. What's the story I'm going to give on this? And of course, to give a good story, I need to understand my audience. Who am I talking to? And on the prepping, of course, I got, as I said, this material, but we also had a call typically just before the analyst briefing started. We had a call between us where we, talked about, sort of got me into the mood, if you like, sort of into that sort of, now I'm going to talk to the analyst, get ready for that. Okay, I've talked to this guy before, or this girl before. And, so that was important part of it, both the background material, but also that sort of the pep talk. So you cannot undervalue that team in the background. It's a team effort, even though, as you said, I'm the face outward. I mean, I can't do this by myself, right? You need that backup. You need that help in the background. That's really important part of it.
And can you share some of your learnings from more than 10 years working with analysts, and what were the things, if someone asks you, can you give me an advice, what would you give them? What would you tell them?
I think, like I said, tell a good story. Don't try to sell. I mean, they're going to see through you immediately. I mean, don't create a sales pitch. Analysts don't want to hear sales pitches. They're not customers. They want to hear a good story. They want to learn about what's exciting in your space. So tell a good story from your space. What's happening? What's new? What's going on? Of course, you want to touch on, if you have some new products and you want to introduce, say, okay, we're doing this and this, but not with a sales pitch. Explain what they do. Explain the benefits. Like I said, you're not doing a sales talk. And I think that's where some people miss out, think, okay, I'm talking to an analyst like I'm talking to a customer. So that's not going to work. So, of course, I learned a lot over the years of doing this. And I, of course, got to know the analyst personally as well. And this made it easier to also set up inquiry calls, one-on-one calls with the analysts, which I also was doing more and more. To share knowledge, to have really good discussions, and also, as I said, getting to know them personally, having some good discussions, realizing, you see my Lego set behind me, I mean, realizing that others, oh, you're into Lego, so you get into those discussions. Getting that personal relation is really important. So telling a good story, being prepared, and having those relations, the personal relations, I think that would be sort of some of my advice in this.
Yeah, it does take a long time to build those relationships. It doesn't happen overnight. It's not something that happens quickly. So I think that this is one of the things I think every analyst relations professional try and emphasize
Exactly.
that they work with.
Right.
How working with analysts and with analyst relations professionals helped you in your work and in your role in general?
So, I mean, two things actually. One is sort of getting the message out there, right? You're telling a story, you want to spread that story, obviously, because at least when you tell a story, you think it's a good story, so you want to get it out there. So it's sort of a way to spread that story, to talk to the analysts. But more and more, as I mentioned, inquiry calls, being able to set up one-on-ones, to talk about specific topics, anything from, I mean, product naming to markets where you want to go into, to just an idea, okay, we're talking about this, what digital identity wallet, just to take an example. What are your thoughts on that? Where are we going with this? What's happening? So, and, any kind of different topics, and that's been valuable. It's always interesting to discuss these topics with people that see them from a different perspective and getting that input. And so, yeah, it's been valuable from both those perspectives.
And there are many different reasons for companies to use analyst relations, but for you, what was the best aspect of engaging with analysts? Also, you mentioned inquiries, and you have to have access to the analysts, and having access to reports that they are writing or have written, and the knowledge that they have. Excuse me. What was the best aspect of this side of analyst relations?
I think it's difficult to say one is the best. I mean, you mentioned several. Of course, getting access to reports, being able to read the reports, talking to them. So you got some mentions in the reports that, part of spreading the words. Having those interesting discussions, as I mentioned, was good, these relations. So, I mean, it's for me, it's difficult to say that one thing is better. I think it's the whole picture, all these different aspects together that gave the value for this, from my perspective.
Mm-hmm. So, and we spoke about this a little bit earlier, but what are your top tips when engaging with analysts and speaking with them and meeting them? What would you say to someone who is just starting this journey?
Tell a good story. I mean, it's all about the storytelling. I mean, I'm back to that. I think too many people miss out on that. They're going to be focused too much on facts or on graphs. Or, I mean, really what we all want to hear, regardless of where we are, is a good story, right? So focus on the storytelling. Know your audience. Know who these analysts you're talking to are, which is why the background that I mentioned was really important, that I got help from the team. So prepare, understand your audience, and tell a good story. I think that would be my top three.
Mm-hmm. So I want to move to a little bit of a different topic that I know you're very passionate about, and considering that you're speaking with women in analyst relations, and that's diversity, which, as I mentioned, I know you're quite passionate about. So why do you think women should look to build a career in technology in general, in the identity space as well?
Well, we need people with different perspectives. We need diversity. I mean, one of my quotes is, to get creativity, you need friction. And to get friction, you need to have diversity. I mean, if everybody comes from the same background and everybody is all guys like me, somebody's going to speak and everybody's going to nod and say yes. But when you have different perspective, you're going to get, somebody challenging your ideas. And then you get this positive friction, that you need to think about it. And so friction in a positive way, challenge in a positive way. And that's where you get creativity. So we need different kind of people. I mean, different genders, different background, cultural backgrounds. And so I'm, and of course you need to have the culture where you can raise your voice, where you can have this discussion. And I always appreciated being in jobs where that has been possible, where, it's not about being the one having the right answer, because in a creativity process, it's not. It's about teamwork, working together. And of course, a lot of us in this space are old men like me, and we need younger people, we need women, there is an organization called Women in Identity. So I mean, if you're a female and want to look at that, which is about diversity, I'm a member of Women in Identity, even though I'm a man. I was let in, and in general because they focus on diversity, and it is important. We need to bring more women because we come from different parts. We have different experiences. We look at life in different ways, and that's why it's important. So, and again, why identity? Well, it's really exciting space. There's so much going on here. So I mean, it's I would encourage people to definitely look into this space.
You are based out of Norway. You
Yeah.
work with a lot of Scandinavian, within a lot of Scandinavian countries. Tell me a bit more about your experience in terms of diversity from the Scandinavian point of view. How do you see companies that you've worked with, companies that you work with, dealing with bringing more women, bringing more underrepresented communities within their ranks?
I would say that in the Nordics, we are doing fairly good on this space. I mean, I've always had female colleagues. I've always worked with people from different cultures, from different countries. And, you know, I worked in the Nordics, but I've also been a lot of outside the Nordics. And I've seen examples of, you know, not so positive engagement where, you know, you're really hierarchical and you know, the boss is always right, you know, coming from a culture where that is not true, that, you know, you meet some negative friction in that space, right? And I mean, everybody is important and everybody deserves respect. And just an example of that, I mean, I had some visitors from some country in Europe, and they were so surprised that we actually said hello to the cleaning people at the office. Of course we do. They do an important job as well. Without them, I mean, some of us would have to do it. I mean, it's a job that has to be done. We're all important in this. And on that note, there was an interview back in the 60s in NASA. They interviewed one of the janitors and asking, you know, what was his job? Well, I helped putting a man on the moon. So we are all important, and we need all these different roles in this. And I think we are doing we can always be better. I mean, we still need more equality in work life in Norway as well, but I think we're doing fairly well compared to a lot of other countries at least.
Mm-hmm. You mentioned that you've worked with not only in the Nordic country, the Scandinavian countries, but also outside in continental Europe and in other continents as well. What were the best practices that you've seen and you thought, oh, I really like this, so maybe I would look to adopt it within kind of my workspace so we can get better when it comes to diversity and representing different communities?
Yeah, good question. I think Women in Identity has been an inspiration, you know, to really focus on that space. And it's about always keeping your eyes open, always being open to new ideas. I mean, they say, you know, your mind is like a parachute. It works better when it's open. And you need to look at, I don't have any concrete examples now, but I think just meeting these other people from the different culture in itself has a value, because I think it makes you more open to there are different kind of people, and working with people with different languages, different background, different accents, different cultures is very exciting.
Mm-hmm. Were there any negative sides, that anything that you saw that you didn't like and you thought you really shouldn't be doing this and that's not right?
I mean, you can always think back and say, why the heck didn't I do something about, you know, somebody not being treated well? And of course it's happened, and unfortunately in a lot of cases women are not being treated equal. I mean, I'm in really the privileged, you know, old man group and so on. So yeah, sometimes I pull my hair and ask myself, hey, why didn't I do something about some situations that were not fair, where I would have a strong voice as an older man. So unfortunately, I'm trying to be better. I always try to grow and be a better person.
We all do.
Trying.
Jan-Erik, let me ask you, just to close this conversation, if you could give one piece of advice to women working in technology in general, women working in analyst relations, or looking to build a career in technology, what would it be?
Oh, okay. I mean, I would say go for it. I mean, hopefully there are more people with the sort of acceptance, the understanding of the different cultures, and we need women. We need, as I mentioned, different people in this space. There, it's too male dominated, which is why we see too much technology, as I joke about, made by engineers for engineers. I think females can give a different kind of perspective of things, and don't be afraid to go in there and make your stand, say what you want. Yeah.
Jan-Erik, thank you very much for speaking with Women in Analyst Relations and for sharing your experience. It has been great to have you.
It's been great being here. Always great having a talk with you, Elena, and good luck.
Thank you.